Welcome to the first Open Service Mesh community meeting. It is October 13th, 2020. And I'd like to remind those who are attending or in the audience that this call falls under the CNCF Code of Conduct and is being recorded and will be published to the CNCF YouTube channel. All right. And if you are following along in the agenda, I'm Phil Gibson. I'll be your moderator, and I am with Bridget Krumhat, who will actually be taking notes for me. So thank you, Bridget, for that. And so let's go ahead and just kick off and introduce you to Open Service Mesh. So just real quick, Open Service Mesh, this is a lightweight and extensible cloud native service mesh. OSM takes a simple approach for users to uniformly manage, secure, and get out of the box observability features for highly dynamic microservices environment. OSM also takes advantage of the CNCF Envoy project as well, and also implements the service mesh interface specification for securing and managing your microservices application. So you can expect all of the popular and features and functionalities of a modern service mesh, such as MTLS, access control policies, traffic shifting, certificate management, monitoring, debugging, as well as providing a interface for flexible configuration of the Envoy XDS APIs as needed. So that is a quick overview of OSM and what you can expect. And now we will head to the agenda. And we will kick it off with community intros. So I will ask any of the maintainers, whoever wants to jump in and give an intro to who they are and what they do for the project.
Hey everyone. This is a place for the maintainers and the community to meet. Hopefully some of the community members will become maintainers and join us and collaborate and contribute. We really want to know why you're interested in OSM, if you're interested in OSM, and how we can help. And if you want to contribute, we'd love to kind of make sure that there's a clear path in how to do that as well. I'm Michelle Norley. I'm one of the developers on the team. I work at Microsoft. I've been in the cloud native community for a while now, probably since its inception, actually. I worked on projects like Helm, Draft, CNAB, and then also the service mesh interface specification. And now I'm working on Open Service Mesh with the rest of the team here. I'll hand it off to one of the other maintainers. Some of my areas that I've kind of worked on the project are mostly the CLI. I've been helping with a roadmap, kind of figuring out, hammering out our architecture and iterating on it. Those are my focus areas. We rely heavily on Kubernetes service accounts right now for identity. I'm trying to kind of see if we can make that more generic so we can then extend the mesh to platforms like VMs, functions, and the runtimes, non-Kubernetes runtimes. So let's see, I'll hand it off to Delian.
We do not hear you, Delian.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. There's too many microphones. But anyway, hello, friends. My name is Delian. And much like Michelle, I'm also a part of Microsoft. I have also been working on Open Service Mesh for many months now. And I'm so excited to be in this first community call. What a great community already. I have been involved with the Microsoft App Gateway Ingress Controller prior to working on Open Service Mesh. And now going forward with Open Service Mesh, just like Michelle said, we're going to be thinking about, what are the next things that we need to add to make it scale, make it fast, add all the missing features. There's so much work to be done. And I'm excited to see so many people here that we can all collaborate to achieve that. Next, I see John next to my little rectangle.
Hey everyone, my name is John Hune. I just joined Microsoft a few months ago, started right in on the Open Service Mesh project. Most recently, I've been working on the SMI metrics implementation for OSM and the end-to-end testing framework that we're newly refactoring. Excited to meet everyone part of the community. All right, I will hand it over to Sonia.
Hey everyone, I'm Sonia. I also recently started at Microsoft and joined the OSM team and project. I have been working recently on logging and looking at using FluentBit for using a sidecar for logging. And so yeah, super excited to see like what comes out of like meeting with more people in the community. Gonna pass it on to Niranjan.
Thanks, Sonia. My name is Ranjan. I also started recently at Microsoft. So yeah, some of the stuff I've been working on recently at OSM is I was working on a pipeline to automate the process of deploying the Helm chart to ACR and running end-to-end tests on an ARC-enabled AKS cluster. And yeah, recently I was also, I've also been looking into adding labels for namespace exemptions for the sidecar injections. I'll pass it to Lackey.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Lachlan Ebenson. I'm a PM at Microsoft and worked on OSM. So excited to be here and learn from the community about what they need in the service mesh ecosystem, and great to see everybody here. I will pass it to Bridget.
Unmuting and typing is hard. I'm Bridget, I'm a PM, and helping support OSM. I've been focused on SMI, but I am very excited to see all the stuff that my counterpart Phil is doing with OSM. Maybe I'll toss it back to Phil. He can tell us a little bit about himself and then the rest of our agenda.
All right. Thank you, Bridget. Yeah, I'm Phil Gibson. I'm PM here specifically for OSM. So I'm totally excited about everyone who's shown up. I can't wait to hear about the experiences and what everyone thinks and where you think we should take the project. So definitely looking forward to that. And with that, we will go ahead and start talking about where we're at with OSM and some of our roadmaps.
Phil, real quick, we didn't get time to like introduce some of the other maintainers. Do you mind if I take a minute?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
I know we want to keep on track, but I just want to quickly introduce some of the other maintainers. Sneha's on this call. She did the early SMI implementation work, was one of the first developers on the team. Shashank as well did the egress implementation on OSM. Kali has been working on traffic split, various testing scenarios, things like that. Did I miss? Rita is someone who actually oversees the Azure Containers Upstream team. She has like a lot of projects under her, but she's also been heavily involved in OSM and helping us with various things. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the agenda. First line item we have here is actually you, Michelle, talking about the roadmap of where we're heading with OSM. So I will hand it to you.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we came into this kind of with a, how do we do service mesh, focusing on a very simple and opinionated solution, easy to digest, focused on the very common things that people need out of service mesh. So MTLS, access control, metrics, and traffic shifting are the things that really came out of the SMI community. And so we got kind of to this MVP in open source because we didn't want to get too far along. And I think when you get super far along in an open source project, it's really hard to get community members involved that are outside of your organization. And we firmly believe that when multiple organizations, multiple parties are involved in building a project, that solution becomes more robust and just a better long-term thing. And so we kind of came into this space thinking with that in mind. And as we move forward, we are really focusing for the rest of the year on hardening, testing, and kind of getting production ready. So we are not production ready at this point. We are pre 1.0. The project status is actually on the README. So if anybody's curious about that kind of thing, we're very transparent about that. But we would really love everyone and anybody's help in helping us move along. So with that, do you want to share your screen here, Philip, or should I? I just wanted to kind of show folks what the roadmap looks like.
Yeah, I thought I was sharing my screen. Is it not sharing?
You are. I just wanted to see if we could go to the roadmap doc in the.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is the roadmap.md doc that you can find at the root of the repo. It gives you a high level of our process and tools and our current and future objectives. So now that we have kind of an MVP, we are working on hardening the project, making sure we're iterating on our current solutions. Metrics is a huge thing that we really needed, and John will go into this a little bit later on what we're doing with SMI metrics. But essentially, if you want to get a sense of what we're focused on, and of course, we want the community to collaborate and help build the roadmap, but just to seed something, we do have a roadmap GitHub project board. Would you mind clicking on that, Phil? So there are 4 columns here. Anything in the planned and scoped column, anybody is welcome to pick up as long as there's not already a name next to it. And the in progress and done columns are pretty self-explanatory. The first column there is titled research and scoping. These are gaps that we know that we have. These are kind of like these big things come out of conversations we just have had randomly throughout the last several months, things that we know we're missing and we want to focus on, but not necessarily, those aren't like necessarily issues that are super well defined, scoped, and have a design for whatever the task is at hand. So those just need some work and some more hardening and some more conversations, which we hope to have in these community calls going forward. From this, we are thinking about doing monthly, well, we've committed to doing monthly releases. So from this, about every month, we hope that we can use this meeting as kind of like getting prioritization from the community members and what we should work on in the next month or so. So we will take issues from this plan and scope column or this research and scoping column and then put them on GitHub milestones. Would you mind going to the v0.5.0 milestone, Phil? So we did do this exercise to kind of like test it out, just because everybody's planning flavor is like a little bit different. So this is our milestone. This is what we've been working on and are working on, and we hope to cut another release on October 22nd. So this will be like we'll cut like a v0.5.0 alpha, or sorry, not alpha, RC. So RC stands for release candidate. So we'll publish a release candidate of v0.5.0. Anybody who's using it can test it. If we find any bugs, we'll go back and fix them and then iterate on that until we have something we want to finally release. So high level, would you mind going back to the roadmap, Phil? Does anybody have any questions at this time about the roadmap and the process? All right, I think I'm good there. We can come back to the roadmap stuff and the specifics if we want at the end of the call.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And next up, we have John. John's going to speak about OSM metrics.
All right, so for anyone that isn't aware, SMI's metrics spec defines a common set of metrics that include success and failure rates and request latency that can be queried against any SMI implementation. So the SMI community maintains an API server implementation of the spec with adapters currently for Linkerd and Istio. And we have a working adapter for OSM that hasn't been merged quite yet. Currently, to help implement the spec for OSM, we're using Envoy's new WebAssembly filters to add custom metrics that we need for SMI metrics. So that includes those request counts and durations with tags for things like the pod name and namespace and workload for both the source and destination of each request. I do have code for all of the implementation on my forks of both OSM and the SMI metrics repo, so I can add links to the meeting notes after this to those branches. Currently, before that stuff gets merged into OSM, we're waiting on an upstream release of Envoy to have all of the new WebAssembly filter support, since that's very new to Envoy. That just got merged into the master branch of Envoy last week. So yeah, that's where we're at for SMI metrics for OSM. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, so I will move on and talk about some end-to-end testing that we're doing. So currently for OSM, we have a lot of our end-to-end tests in bash scripts, which we found to be fairly rigid, hard to test more complex scenarios. So we've just started migrating a lot of our end-to-end tests from those bash scripts to using Go, and specifically the Ginkgo and Gomega testing framework. We have several examples either added or have open PRs currently for folks to take a look at. We do need a lot of help defining more test cases and implementing test cases. So take a look at the issue queue, and if you find issues for those are definitely up for grabs. And if you've used OSM, tried it out and found that it doesn't work for any specific scenario that you found, that's a great opportunity to open up an issue, contribute a test, help us harden our implementation. All right, any questions about end-to-end tests for OSM?
Just wanted to jump in real quick on the metrics related bit. John has been working on like basically the fundamentals of how we can get metrics out. Asana had implemented our Prometheus solution, so we are collecting metrics in Prometheus, and then the SMI metrics server queries the Prometheus instance. But it would be awesome to get community feedback on how we actually want to expose those metrics. So are there certain CLI commands that you're looking for, or a certain way that you want to query those metrics? Like if you have any ideas or suggestions, GitHub issues are super welcome.
Great, thanks both Michelle and John on that. All right, next up, this is the exciting one. Kalia is going to talk about how to get involved with the project. So Kalia, take it away.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, so yeah, we're into community meetings. This is like a great introduction to kind of have some FaceTime with members of the OSM community who are already existing if you're looking to join, and also to talk to maintainers and bring up any issues or open questions that you might have.
Hey Kalia, just
Beyond
real
that,
quick.
if we go to the, yeah.
You're coming in very faint. I'm not sure if
Oh,
it's just me or
1 second.
if it's faint for everyone.
Actually, can
Just wanna
Michelle,
make sure
if it's
you're being
coming in
heard.
faint, can you take it?
You're good now.
Yeah, it sounds like
Oh, okay.
yeah, the volume went up, so go for it. Sorry about that.
Okay, cool. Hold on 1 second. Hey, so Sorry about that. I was just switching mics. But yeah, so basically, beyond just these community calls, we also have links in the OSM repo. We have a Slack channel that you can join, so you can always ping the maintainers there. And then we've been trying to label the issues in the issue queue with good first issue. So anything with that label is just a really good starter issue to pick up. And then you can just ping one of us on that PR, or if you just make a draft, like a PR or a draft PR, we're pretty responsive. And so even if you're not entirely sure about the implementation, but you really want to get started, we're always looking forward to like people contributing, and we'll just help out as we can. Thanks, Phil.
All right, thank you, Kaya. Okay, next up, Frederick. Let's talk about workload identity strategy. Take it away,
Cool. So
Frederick.
I'll make it real clear. I'm not an OSM developer, but I would like to ask a couple questions and make a couple offers as well in terms of things that that I may be able to help out with. So I did take a look through. You have you are looking at creating a plugin that you can then stick multiple things behind for generation of workload identities, which I think is fantastic. I've brought along a couple of friends as well who can help with that from the Spiffy and Spire communities. So I wanted to know, like, where's the right place to have these discussions so that we can talk about, like, what would it look like to be able to build a backend towards this and make sure we get that that integration. And the second thing as well that I can bring to the table is I am also a maintainer of the Network Service Mesh project, which is an L2, L3 based service mesh as opposed to L4 through L7. So it's complementary to the work that we're doing here. And we have a relatively robust strategy around how we deal with identities. And one of the things that I may be able to do is pull the identity code, which is very modular and is designed to not tie in a single type of identity in. And there also may be some joint collaboration or something similar that we could explore to make sure if it even makes sense or not, so that we could have some type of joint identity story. Because in the long run, one of the things that we could potentially achieve is an identity that spans not just the application, but that same identity could be used to leverage things within the infrastructure. So, like, how do you identify yourself to the underlying platforms? How do you identify that the platform components you're connecting to are the things that you expect them to be, as opposed to just endpoint to endpoint at a high level. So I know that there'll be a lot of questions along this side. We don't have enough time to cover it all. So I want to know, like, what's the best way to initiate these conversations?
Hey, first of all, thanks so much for coming and for offering all of this. It'd be great to get on a call specifically around identity. I do have a call scheduled next week with Andreas, Evan, and Andrew from VMware, who are also involved in the Spiffy Inspire project. So I don't know if are you familiar with who they are, or do you work with them at all? What company are you from?
I'm from a company called Doc AI, which works in the medical space. So we don't actually produce like a product in that specific space, but we do consume and we do make use of these type of things, and so they are critical to our success. I do work with those individuals and others that, so the ones you mentioned are maintainers on Spiffy and Spire, and there's more in people in the community in Spiffy and Spire outside of VMware that are also interested in helping here as well. So I want to make sure that we pull in the wider community in that path as well. But at the same time, I don't want to impose too much, and so if you'd like for me to join in on that, I'd be more than happy to join in. I know them very well. We get along. We get along really well with them.
That's great. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think everything starts with an issue generally in OSM. That's always, just how everybody should think about proposing something. But this seems like it's definitely worth more of a call and a discussion. So if we could schedule something for next week or whenever you're available, you and whoever else is interested, that'd be great. Maybe I can give you my email address. We can start from there and we can loop everyone in who's interested.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. And then once we get that intro started, we can continue that conversation on the mailing list. That'd be a good place to have long form discussion too. I'll send you my email address.
Cool. Thanks.
Good stuff, Frederick. Glad to have you on board. All right. I think that is the end of our agenda. I will ask if anyone needs to make any statements or if there's anything else anyone wants to comment on.
In the lightweight aspect of the OSM, and yeah, first we'll go with this because that's what got me super excited about OSM in the first place. So if you want to briefly elaborate on the underlying architecture, which differentiates this as a lightweight, I'd be happy to know.
Sure. Yeah, Michelle, you wanna?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Also, just in the chat, if y'all are interested in being a part of that conversation around identity, just send me your email address and I'll make sure to grab it from here. Yeah, so with the lightweight aspect, everything, there's like a few different areas there. I'll start with high level and then we can go down to like more like lower level things. And we should definitely write a doc explaining this a little bit further. But I think what we mean by that is everything runs in one pod as part of the OSM controller. That's generally where everything goes. Lightweight in that, we only support at the moment like SMI spec. It's not like you can tweak every configuration under the hood at the moment. So we're trying to keep things more opinionated. If you kind of go lower down, like into the way that we program the proxies, the proxies don't necessarily know about every cluster or service that exists. It doesn't have the entire state of the mesh in it. It only has what it needs to know. There's like a lot of different like layers to this, but essentially at the end of the day, I think the biggest one is really just everything runs in one place, and we're kind of focusing on making sure that your proxies don't get bloated and that your control plane just does the bare minimum and kind of gets out of the way. Does that help? Maybe we should.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Cool. Delian or Shashank or Sneha or anybody, you want to add anything to?
Michelle, you covered it. You covered it so well. I appreciate you taking. That's a tough question because it's a statement that we make, and it's kind of a broad aspiration of keeping everything in one place, very simple, minimalistic. And Michelle pointed something that I really appreciate: trying to program the envoys with minimal configuration, not to overload CPU and memory for all those envoy proxies participating in the mesh. So multiple facets here.
All right. Thank you, Yogi, for that. Okay, we're at time. We're actually a little over. So I want to thank everyone who came today for our first ever OSM community call. And next call will be in a couple of weeks. So that will be on November 10th, 2020. So I hope to see everyone there, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right.